Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, looters, shills, desolators, peasants, vassals, mummies, tomb raiders, pharaohs. I'm a useful idiot. Today I want to talk about Egypt and very, very dramatic events in Egypt and things moving so quickly. It's hard to keep up with, and that's been the story of Egypt for a couple of years now. Of course, the simple background story is Egypt subject to the Arab Spring, and Mubarak being in power for many years, toppled during the Arab Spring. Mubarak was a puppet for the United States and a military strongman. And then we have the Arab Spring, and then the government was toppled again, and we've seen all these cycles going on, and just massive protests year after year after year, seemingly month after month, just been unending. Once again, my hat's off to the Egyptian people for persevering all these years to get some kind of revolution. And I'm not saying it's over yet, but you really have to hand it to the Egyptian people for staying out there and keeping the pressure on. It's been quite a spectacle. And so then we had the election of Morsi, and he was the head of the previously outlawed Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and they are the Islamist group. And it was a very, very surprising victory by Morsi in their first democratic election, another historic event. And it was a surprising victory, but not for those of us who feel that Morsi was the American puppet at that particular time, and that was the reason why he was elected. And I know there's probably a lot of people who don't have that same view, but my view is that a lot of the Al-Qaeda, so-called Al-Qaeda type groups, and the groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, it is not necessary for all the screaming throngs, the real killers out in the streets. It's not necessary for them to necessarily be on the real agenda. They are useful idiots. So for something like that to be controlled by an American puppet is not really out of the question. And one has to look at what these groups like the Muslim Brotherhood are used for when they eventually seem to end up serving United States, Saudi Arabia, and Israeli foreign policy goals. So that should give us a hint of who their masters are. So now we have in Egypt this really interesting event where we have another revolution and or coup d'etat going on, military coup going on, where the previous Mubarak era puppets, the Egyptian military, who are also U.S. puppets, have now come back into power to restore power in a really dramatic sequence of events the last few days. Of course, Morsi being asked to step down and refusing, and saying there's going to be blood in the streets, and having the headquarters of the Muslim Brotherhood ransacked. This is sending quite a message. And what I'm interested in now is the fact that the military are taking control. They are reportedly going to dissolve Parliament. They're going to suspend the Constitution, restore order. But this is where it's going to get interesting, because the fact is the jihads, well, not the jihadists, but the Islamists and the Muslim Brotherhood will now be disenfranchised, and we will seemingly enter into a potentially violent new period in Egyptian history. And I certainly hope things don't play out that way, but it seems like they very well could. So right now, excuse me, Morsi, of course, has been toppled. And I mean Morsi, the leader of Egypt, not the lead singer of the band, the Smiths. And so now we have a very dangerous period in Egyptian history. And reportedly we're going to have new elections, but this is only going to dramatically increase volatility as different political ideals play out once again. And if the Islamists and the Muslim Brotherhood feel disenfranchised from this next stage, then things could get very troublesome. But interestingly enough, now we have one United States puppet Morsi, replaced by another United States proxy puppet, the Egyptian military. And one reason why I can say that is because, of course, all these years, when we've had an understanding with Egypt, and the fact that Egypt was the country that received the second most amount of foreign aid after Israel, something like $70 billion a year, and a lot of that going to the military. And so there's a cozy relationship with the United States, I assure you. So this will be interesting. And I hate to be so sober and restrained about this, but it's for me, it still continues to be a fascinating event, and I hope the best for them. But historically speaking, just from my standpoint as a historian, I think it's a really fascinating series of events in Egypt, and only adds to an incredible history of Egypt back to the very dawn of time. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.